Necessary evil is one of the most controversial and intriguing themes in literally all of life. Some may say it makes you an anti-hero, but that is what makes this character, Gluck, the man standing atop the totem pole as the Lord of the Fortress City of Weiss, just a figurehead. One of the most compelling necessary evil examples that swung the hero's way in the end. When it comes to necessary evil, very often, characters just end up becoming the thing you are trying to prevent in creating a better world that just ends up being a villain. Most villains don't see themselves as villains, like in this very storyline in the Golden Land arc with Macht, the strongest of the 7 demon sages of destruction that wants coexistence with humans by obtaining those very human emotions. Macht himself is that example, but like most villains, they don't see the villainy of what they are doing because they believe what they are doing is actually what is best. The special case for Macht is like a catch-22 because eating humans is instinctual, like breathing. He doesn't see the irony of fighting to the death for coexistence. Once again, the unique case with Macht is not even realizing what he is doing is even evil, for it to be considered from his perspective as necessary evil. This is where Gluck's character comes into play because he does see the necessary evil he is willing to dive into for the ultimate goal of creating a better world from other people's corruption. He is the clever unsung hero, or some may even think as an anti-hero that doesn't need physical strength or even an abundant amount of mana to become one of the key, if not the key character in helping save humanity from his partner in crime, Macht of the Golden Land. Oh yeah, spoiler warning, because I might talk a little bit about the Foundation Festival arc, and so before we continue, it's another day in the Frieren Manga hiatus. Yamada Kanehito and Abe Tsukasa are cooking as a new script is delivered to the great mage Serie, the Feet Goddess. And it says, the hero of the South is still alive.
合格だ。
Gluck's character dilemma of wanting to be seen as the villain, yet no one wants to put him in that box, as in reality, our real reality in the real world. There is no way in hell Gluck is not punished for his crimes in a grand conspiracy to conspire against political enemies in accessing that necessary evil to remove them from society. And now, with the introduction of Macht serving under him under the conditions that he is allowed to see all of the malice and guilt he wants until he obtains those human emotions. His new demon friend and accomplice both use each other for an individual gain, with Gluck serving his dead son's wishes of justice and weeding out the corruption in the Fortress City of Weiss. That very dilemma where he knew he had to access those necessary evils to make a positive change in making a pact with a demon. Use them to yeet all the corruption in the Fortress City of Weiss that ultimately did lead his entire people into becoming frozen by Macht's golds. That wanting to face his own consequences, his retribution, is something that is ongoing in the Foundation Festival arc. It is where the King of the Empire, Vice Captain Kanona of the Magic Special Forces, Linio, want to let everything that happened behind the scenes slide because it is because of Gluck's leadership that ultimately freed Weiss, even though he had to commit his own fair share of necessary evils, where while he is just a figurehead, the family that is truly in control behind the scenes, the other nobles, ruled for their own self-interest. Every year, many citizens die from hunger. While there is corruption from those in power, what do having laws even mean? It is a situation that Gluck was thrusted into, one where the stew of corruption already exists with many moving parts that one man alone cannot change without power, and one where he didn't take the extra time and care to work towards curing until a catalyst was spurred upon him. That is, the death of his son. A man with a strong sense of justice that only got in the corrupt noble's way. In many ways, Gluck is all of us. Sees the corruption, sees what needs to be fixed, and that leads to what? It is the solution. That is where necessary evil is the ultimate gray area, where yeeting another human being is bad, but Gluck called upon Macht to do so, where revenge is a behavior that the goddess of creation likely looks down upon, but Gluck made sure the nobles knew, without saying it outright, to go home and get some rest. Just be sure to lock your doors. Gluck is someone that we can easily identify with being someone that may not be all powerful in the means of physical and magical strength, but has to use their wits, their cleverness, by understanding people's motivations, their goals, and how one overall ticks to his advantage to gain the most positive outcome. Remember that Macht doesn't know what's righteous nor wicked. He doesn't know good or evil. His very existence is just as is, which is why Frieren continues to pose the question of why he keeps yeeting people if he's trying to coexist with humans. It's clearly a question that perplexes him, because it's a question he cannot even fathom the meaning behind it. It's like asking someone, why do you breathe? Why do you walk? There's no better time to use this cliche than, it is what it is. Gluck tells Macht he just needs to act, converse, and kill. As I tell you. That is the method Gluck will employ with Macht until he grasps and develops those pipe dreams of human emotions. And if Macht doesn't develop those human emotions, Gluck is the one using necessary evil with Macht and his abilities. And until he actually understands humans, he will follow him, even to the depths of hell. This is where we see the brilliance of Gluck start to unfold. Even more so, because he literally covers all of his bases for whatever the best outcome would ultimately be. He uses Macht to allow the fortress city of Weiss to prosper by removing all of the barriers, with mostly hits on the corrupt noble family and affiliates. Then, if there is any way in hell he can do the impossible and make a pipe dream come true, he will show Macht everything he needs to see in the differences that would allow him to know what malice and guilt truly is. The human emotions that would make what makes a demon no longer truly a demon. So Macht will be some kind of emotional demon humanoid, I guess. But if that doesn't work out, where Macht develops no emotions that would allow coexistence, it is this here end of their conversation that caps off Gluck's brilliance in planning. Macht asks, and have you worked out a plan to get rid of me once Weiss is under control? Gluck glances back and eventually answers the question with a question of his own. What do you think? Not only does he have plans 50 years before Macht's retribution, he is still setting up for Macht what the feelings of betrayal truly are. They are both technically friends, and when where Macht already stated that he wanted to get close to a human to ultimately betray him as well. Both are trying to do the same acts of betrayal with different motivations. Macht wants to betray a close friend to try to develop the feelings of malice and guilt, while Gluck basically implies that he is setting up for his own betrayal against Macht, which means Gluck is setting up Macht for both scenarios. Macht faces retribution with his death, or by human emotions that will ultimately lead to human and demon coexistence. And that act of brilliance and foresight with Gluck accepting himself as a martyr, taking in all of these necessary evil actions for his people and humanity overall. He took a gamble on his future son-in-law, future husband of his frail daughter in lecture, Denken, future imperial mage that can influence nations, and first class mage of the Continental Magic Association. Check out my Denken video where we talk about how a good woman, a good romance, saved the world. Just think about how much foresight and the craziness it is to put your hopes and dreams in a child, which makes sense of why we are so protective of our children, because they are the future. What makes a young Denken an exceptional case and a good gamble on Gluck's part is the combination of his sensibilities and makeup that Gluck identified. He lost his parents to demons, goes to pray to them at church every day, and revealed early on that he wanted to become a mage. These are all the qualities that profiles a future young almost 78-year-old man to ultimately give Macht The element of surprise! Macht literally trained his own retribution that was all set up by none other than Lord Gluck of the fortress city of Weiss. Not only did Gluck set up Macht's potential demise by having him train his eventual maker of the Imperial Mage of the Monocle, the Stone Bracelet of Servitude ended up being a win-win scenario as well. The Stone Bracelet of Servitude is a legendary item created by its legendary ancient maker in Avik the Sage, the same one that Hyther had Frieren decipher his book at the very beginning of the story, or Immortality, and one where he was mentioned in the first class mage exam as a hero from the mythical era. It's a mind-controlling item that uses a hypnosis spell on humans that only the original caster can change its settings. Like what we find out when Lernen and Edel face Macht in the Golden Land, the mind of a demon is nothing like a human's because they don't need emotions like malice and guilt. Their very existence is instinctive, to deceive and prey upon humans because it is simply a drive they were born with. Solitar echoes the same reasoning, with Edel saying they don't think any more about it than we do about sleeping or eating. Frieren said the same thing when it comes to lying during their discussions with him. And so, when Gluke was politically cornered to cast the Stone Bracelet of Servitude on Macht, the spell of the words were, I command you to serve the people of the fortress city of Weiss and all their descendants, and you must never commit malicious acts toward us, the people of Weiss. The moment you bear the slightest ill will toward us, you shall end your own life. If Macht never develops these feelings, then retribution may eventually find him with Denken or someone else. If Macht actually does the impossible and develops human emotions, those feelings of malice and guilt will ultimately consume him, and he would end up being his own retribution. It's a brilliant strategy from Gluke that took into account all the necessary evils to ultimately set up multiple ways where humanity can win in the end. So yeah guys, let me know what you guys think about Gluke's character. In many ways, you can see him as a bad guy. And if you guys read the Foundation Festival arc, you would know that he wants to see himself as just that. So, are you able to bend your ethical morality if in the end you get the result that you're looking for, and that is saving humanity from an ultimate evil? So yeah guys, let me know what you guys think, and I appreciate you guys watching, and I'll see you guys on the next video.